Boom! Some fireworks on July 4th. John Turntine, Jerry, one of your favorite players out there in the state of Texas and in the country. The big offensive tackle out of North Crowley, helped them to the state championship a year ago, has just committed to the University of Texas over Michigan, Texas A&M, Stanford, Georgia, Alabama. All those big dogs offered him. You've long had him ranked the number one offensive line in the state of Texas, lineman in the state of Texas. Tell us a little bit about what you think this means for Kyle Flood and why you think John Turntine III is so darn good.
Yeah, look, I think he just checks every box as a prospect, and that's on the field, that's off the field. I mean, this is a guy that was once ranked number 2 or 3 in his class academically, in his whole entire class. The first time I saw him, I think he was ranked 2 or 3 in his class as a sophomore. But look, his father was a tremendous defensive lineman for Gary Patterson at TCU. All the stuff on tape is easy, right? I mean, look, you see his feet, great feet, elite athleticism, elite bend. People talk about, well, he's 6'3 and a half, 6'3 and 5/8, 6'3 and 7/8, whatever he ends up being. 6'4 if he grows a little bit more. But he's got an 81-inch wingspan. He's got 10-inch hands. He's got a 34-inch arm. So, like, he's got tackle length. He's got tackle feet. He's got tackle reactive quickness. He can play in space. There's a reason Tony Hills loves him when he talks about him on Coffee and Football. Is he's such a tremendous athlete? And I'll tell you this: he actually plays without knee braces at times, which is kind of weird to me. That's how athletic he is. I think he's not even worried about it. But he is also a physical guy at the point of contact, and he is. I just think he's got it all as a prospect. And a lot of people have said, well, he weighs 270 pounds, 268, 270. I'm just not worried about that with him. He squats 600 pounds as a junior in high school. He's going to be a 305, 310 pound guy. His body's going to blow up at the college level. And oh, by the way, once it blows up, he's probably going to be squatting close to 700 pounds when all is said and done. But to have that athleticism and that strength in his lower body where he's at right now, and have the mentality he has. And oh, by the way, he's really intelligent too. He's a super intelligent guy. He's a processor. He's a thinker. He's a cerebral guy. And I couldn't be higher on him from the first time I saw him to seeing just his tape and him backing it up. And every time I've been there in North Crowley over the years, I just think the guy checks every box as a prospect.
Well, you're not the only one that's high on him. Yeah, you've talked about it before. The offensive line coach at the University of Texas, Kyle Flood, has made him a priority really from Jump Street in this recruiting class. Tell us the story about how Kyle Flood you learned it, how Kyle Flood came to know about John Turntine, how they offered him, et cetera, because it kind of showed just how important Turntine was to the Longhorns.
Yeah, by the way, you think North Crowley wasn't talented? There's a reason they went 16-0 watching this tape. Geez, these guys are fast as lightning everywhere on the field. But yeah, so Texas, this is how much they thought of John Turntine. They offered him October 28th. I get 2023. There's a Kansas State game. They were going to offer him just on the phone call with the coach. Coach Gates is the head coach. Obviously, we've had him on the show. Bring John into the office. We're going to offer him. They're like, no. We need to offer him in person. So they waited until. So some other schools offered him before Texas did. And now Miami was way back May 8th of 2023. But Oklahoma, 2 or 3 others had offered them before he got to campus in October there. But Kyle Flood and Steve Sarkisian thought it was that important to extend the offer in person to him after a Texas game.
Yeah, I think that's, you look at this and we're in this day and age where NIL plays such a big role in college football, in recruiting. We've seen it happen this whole past week and a half, really. Obviously, Texas wanting John Turntine here. How do you see this all playing out from a recruiting standpoint right now, Jerry, where teams are have to be selective of who they go after and who they pick, et cetera? Is that going to – it's changing recruiting before our very eyes right now.
No, it really is. And look, there's especially late in this cycle, which is June and early July. But what's been interesting to me is seeing teams jockey. Okay, we just lost 2 defensive linemen. We got to go big on a defensive lineman, maybe a linebacker in that position of need, maybe an edge player. But you've seen this, I think, position specific to a team's need, more so in June and July in this class. And maybe I hadn't noticed it as much in the last couple of classes. Maybe it didn't affect Texas as much in a weird way. But you definitely see more of a push right now, especially after the House settlement. You see a push right now to win some of these big recruitments, especially if you have a signing class and you have a specific need out there. You see everybody going all in on their specific need or their specific one in-state kid that they feel like they have to have.
John Turntine III committing to the University of Texas. Rod Babers took a look at the film of John Turntine III. He'll be on here a little bit later. We'll pitch to him, and he can give you his feelings on him. But Jerry, you think he's an immediate player for Texas, or do you think he's going to be a guy that has to get in the pipeline because of his weight, and it may take a year or two for him to be able to really have an impact at the University of Texas? But, you've got him ranked as a 5-star. You clearly think that he's one of the top elite players in the state of Texas and the country.
I do. And if I'm wrong, people will tell me I'm wrong in 4 years. But I do think I think he's on more of a Trevor Gooseby path, because Trevor Gooseby, right, and he needed to add 30 pounds, and Trevor Gooseby's ended up adding 45 since he's got on campus. But he needs he needs that time. And Texas is in a position in terms of depth where it's a perfect situation for Texas and John Turntine. And his father's a football smart guy, right? We said that he played for Gary Patterson on the defensive line, was a 2-time All-Mountain West Conference selection. He understands that, and that's why it really sets up well for Turntine to come in, continue to learn his craft, add that armor, that weight to his frame, which he's pretty strong already, so it's more the weight to his frame, that mass to his frame that he needs to add. But it's and I know they're different from terms of height, and I'm not comparing him totally as prospects, but when Trevor Gooseby came in, he needed that time as well. And that's worked out really well for Trevor Gooseby. So it's not add water instant player, but this guy is tremendously talented. And he's going into a situation which I think affords him time to get his body ready to where it needs to be when his time comes to step on the field and be a difference maker.
You mentioned something about North Crowley. I want to get back to that in a second, but first I want to say thank you to our sponsor. That is Mark Saunders of Allstate. Reach out to Mark 512-218-8571 or email him marksaunders@allstate.com. That's Mark Saunders at allstate.com. Your local insurance agent in Austin and Round Rock. Thanks, Mark. All right, I wanted to ask you about, you mentioned North Crowley. They had a bunch of guys signed last year. Jonathan Cunningham, the linebacker at the University of Texas, one of those. Are they going to have more after John Turntine and Jonathan Cunningham as well?
Yeah, they have a 2028 receiver that may be one of the best players in America. And people around the North Crowley program are saying he may be the best prospect they've had come through. That is saying a lot. Now, I mean, you're talking about John Turntine, multiple 4-star guys. John Turntine and I is a 5-star prospect. But for the people that are very close on a day-to-day basis at North Crowley to say that the 2028 receiver maybe the best player that's ever come through, that is really saying something. And they've also kind of said if there's going to be a better receiver in America in 2028, they're going to want to see it. But they're going to have a lot of young talent coming through because, look, it's now that they've won, anybody in that's moving into that Fort Worth area, Mansfield area, sees North Crowley. The other thing North Crowley has going for them, and Crowley High, they just built a phenomenal facility over there. And they're about to, they may have already broken ground. They're going to have the only full indoor track in the state of Texas. And that weather is a factor up in that area. I mean, they're going to have the only indoor full track in the state of Texas as part of the Crowley ISD athletics. They're going to continue to have kids move in.
That's interesting. All right, let's talk to Rod Babers now. He will make sure you guys get a breakdown of John Turntine's film. But before we do, I have one last thing to say. John, hook 'em horns, buddy.
Hey, what's up, folks? Welcome back to On Texas Football. As Bobby Burton will always say, boom! Longhorns get another commitment in the 2026 class. This time, the much heralded offensive lineman out of North Crowley, John Turntine III, about a little under 6'4", about a little over 285 pounds or so. And Longhorn fans have been excited about this young man for a long time now. And watching his film, you can't help but get really excited about him. There are words that you use to describe John Turntine's skill set that you don't usually use to describe a guy that's 280-something pounds. He's agile for that size. He's got really excellent feet for a big man like that. And he's fluid. Like his movement is very fluid. And you don't describe offensive linemen that way. I mean, there's no doubt. In my notes, I said it. He's one of the most athletic linemen I've watched in high school on film at all, period. I haven't been doing this a long time, so take from that what you will. But his athleticism, I mean, it just jumps off the screen to you. And he'd be perfect, right? He's going to be perfect in that Sark system because Sark loves to, initiate screen game. He loves using a lot of misdirection, especially with his offensive lineman, pulling offensive linemen to try to, engage the eyes, if you will, and bring a lot of conflict to linebackers at the second level. If you need an offensive lineman to climb to the second level, you see him. He's a menace. He's a menace in the open field or the second level because he's so agile and so quick. Does a really good job being able to redirect. Right, be able to redirect with defenders in the open field. And I think that's probably one of his strengths is that as a defender, you underestimate how quick and how agile he is and how quickly he'll get up on you. He does a great job, has really good leg drive, tremendous leg drive actually to help him finish some of those blocks. But like I said, there's no doubt the way he fits in the Sark system is how Sark wants to pull offensive linemen, need offensive linemen to climb to the second level, especially on some of those zone blocking concepts. But the screen game, this guy is perfectly compatible with what Sark wants to do in the screen game as an offensive lineman. So whether you want to pull him on power concepts, you're talking about him climbing to the second level on some of those zone blocking concepts, or just out in space as a blocker for a screen pass, John Turntine is almost ideal for those situations. He does have a nasty disposition. You need that. You need a violent disposition as an offensive lineman. You can see that. He's got that nasty in him, plays with that mean streak. I always look for that with offensive line. He's like, finish a block. All right. You don't even have to finish that block. The play can be away from you. You could have already done your job. I want to see if you want to finish that block. Do you want to? Because my man Casey Studies always say for offensive lineman, for lineman period, you got to want a guy who doesn't mind getting in a fight because it is a fight for essentially 60 minutes. A lot of time you lined up across the same guy. All right. So do you want to win that fight? Do you want to dominate that fight? Or are you looking to impose your will on the opponent on the line of scrimmage? And there are times that is the case for John Turntine. I love that about his game too. But he's got the feet, even in pass protection, to be able to mirror defenders, to be able to redirect with defenders. And I also talked about he's a slimmer build, right? He's under 300 pounds. So that's one thing that stands out. He's slimmer, but he does have a frame that you can add and pack on some pounds. And I don't think that'll be a problem. I think he's an elite guard prospect and could be a high level tackle prospect for you too. But there's no doubt that at the guard position, maybe the interior offensive line is where a lot of folks are projecting him. But I just think you got a guy with some elite traits, a lot of great raw material that you need on the offensive line. And from the athleticism standpoint, you just don't see offensive linemen that move like John Turntine III. Right? And I like saying the third too. It brings there's some authority to the name. John Turntine III, by the way. We're going to always say the third to make sure that gets in there every time. All right. Congratulations to John Turntine. That is my evaluation of the latest commitment for the Longhorns in the 2026 class.